Hi guys, in today's video we're actually going to build our very first kind of semi-useful app. So if you want to launch Visual Studio, we're going to create a new project. We're going to use our favorite project template, the console app with the .NET framework in C#. Hit next, we're going to call this one Calculator. So you've probably guessed it by now. We're going to make a command line calculator. So I'm going to run you through how to build this calculator, and we're going to have an add and a subtract command, and then you should go away afterwards and add in a multiply and a divide command. And essentially, we will be using everything we've learned in all of the videos up until this point. So let's get cracking by outlining the key things we want to achieve in the program. So we want to ask the user to enter a command, and actually before that we want to tell the user which commands are available. Ask the user to enter a command, then we want to enter a loop, enter a while loop to capture commands. We want to have our own command handler function. We're also going to have a function to handle adding, a function to handle subtraction. And when we've finished this video, you are going to add functions for multiply and divide. And that will be your homework. So let's start by passing a message to the user. So everybody knows how to do this now. It's a console.writeLine, and we will say, please, we'll say available commands are add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So those are our commands, and then we'll say please, writeLine, we'll say please enter a command to continue. And then we will need a loop. So remember the loop, we're going to do a while true because we don't want it to ever end until we say to break the loop. And then we will say, what should we do now? Let's make our command handling function. So we will say static void handle command, and we want to pass in a string parameter, and we want to call the parameter command. Open and close brackets. So inside of our loop, we want to capture the user's command. We want to handle the command, and we want to check for exit command. A bit wrong there. So we want to check for the exit command. So let's go ahead and do that. So to capture the command, we've done this many times now. We want to say var for a new variable. We will call the variable command, and we will assign it to console.readLine function. And we also want to handle the command. And to do that, we want to call our handle command down here. So we'll say handle command, and we'll pass in our command that we just captured from the user up here. And finally, we will do some conditional logic, and we'll say if command equals, I'm going to put a string in here, and the exit command will be exit. And actually, I think we should let the user know that there's an exit command. So we will say, change this output to the user, and there will be add, subtract, multiply, divide, and exit. So we just let the user know that exit is a command they can use. And if it is equal to exit, we will break the loop like this. If I double click on that, it shows you which loop it's going to break. So we're mostly okay here. All of our commands are going to be passed into the command handler. If the command happens to be exit, then the loop will break and the program will end. So now we need to get onto the good stuff. So in our command handler, we'll have some more conditional logic. We're going to have a few if statements, and we're going to say if command is equal to add, we want to, see here, single equals sign. So you've got to watch out for those because you need two in conditional statements. So we will have an add command. What else do we want to handle? Let's copy and paste this and put in our subtract command. And we also want to add a divide and a multiply. So as I said at the beginning, you're going to go away and create these commands afterwards. For this video, we're just going to do the add and the subtract, but we'll need to create functions to do that. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll say static void add. We're not going to pass any information into there. And we're going to do static void subtract. And again, we're not going to have any parameters for either of these because we're going to do some stuff with the console inside of our functions. So let's just go back up here and connect this up to our handle command function. So if the command is equal to add, we've got a command and it's equal to add, then we want to jump into this add function. And if it's equal to subtract, we want to jump into our subtract function. So now we've got our loop. It's handling all of the commands. It's passing them out to the command handler. The command handler is checking for each of the commands it knows about, which is these four here. And we're then farming these functions out to their very own voids down at the bottom here. So now how should we look at adding some numbers together? Well, first we will need to ask the user for some numbers. So we will say console.writeLine, and we will say, please enter the first number. And then we'll capture that first number. So we'll say var first number equals console.readline. We're going to capture that first number, and now to save time I'm going to copy and paste these two lines and we'll just modify them. So we'll say please enter the second number, and we'll call this variable second number. So we'll capture those, and now like we did in a previous video, we're going to need to convert these strings that we're getting from the console. And see how it's a string? First number and second number are both strings, so we will need to convert them, and then we'll need to add them together. So we will make some new variables to do this. So we'll say var first actual, because this is going to be our actual first number, equals int.pass. And then we'll pop in our first number. So now you'll see that first actual is an int, which is short for integer, which is a whole number. We'll just copy and paste this line. And then we'll do second actual, and we'll pass in this second number. See how I'm copying and pasting as I go for similar types of code? This is something that really does save a lot of time. And now we need to add them together. So we'll say, we'll put this in a new variable. We'll say var result equals first actual plus second actual. And you'll see that result is also an integer because we're just adding two whole numbers together. And then finally, we need to let the user know what the result of that function was. So we'll say console.writeLine, and we will say the answer is, and then we'll add our result onto the end. And that is basically an add function. So the user is asked for the first number, we capture it. The user's asked for the second number, we capture it. We convert the numbers, the first and the second number, into integers because we need them to be integers for us to do math on them. Then we add our numbers together and store it in this result variable. And then finally, we inform the user what the answer to this particular add problem is. So let's go ahead and run that. So you see here, we get told what the commands are at the top, and we get asked to enter a command. Now we know that only the add function is being programmed, so the other ones won't actually do anything. So let's go ahead and add some numbers together. So we'll type in the add command. It's asking for the first number, so I will put, well, I don't know, 100. That's a pretty big number. And we want to add 20. And the answer is 120. And we can add 1 plus 1 is 2. So really simple, but it does work, and I guess it is kind of useful if you suck at adding numbers together. But let's go ahead and implement the subtract command. So actually, I'm going to copy and paste this entire function across, because basically the process will be the same. So where it says please enter the first number, please enter the second number, that's all fine. We're converting the first and second number, that's going to be exactly the same. And we have a result which is going to be slightly different. We're subtracting the first number from the second number, with minus sign, and the answer comes out just fine like that as well. So you can see actually the only thing I changed there was the little bit of math that we put in there. So if I go ahead and click start, now we can do subtract, and we can subtract 50 from 100. It's minus 50. That's a bit strange. Subtract. I mean, it is correct, but yeah, I guess like the UI or the instructions could be a little more clearer. So we do subtract. So we'll say 100 minus 50 is 50. That's kind of a better way to say it. So yeah, there we go. We have a simple calculator. We can add numbers together. We can subtract numbers. What you should do now is go away and implement the following two functions. So static void multiply and static void, what's the other one? Divide. Code will be very similar to here, and I've kind of given you a hint in the way that I copy and pasted almost all of it. And that should be it for your basic command line sort of functional app there. You can follow this pattern on and sort of, you can do anything you want in these functions. You could actually do some really complex maths. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So let me know how you get on. Any questions, just drop me a comment below, and I'll catch you in the next one.